Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Martial Universe Season 10 Part 58 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. An indescribable energy shockwave swiftly rippled across the sky. In the face of this shockwave, a strong distorted feeling emerged in the area. Countless pairs of eyes stared intently at the source of the spreading energy wave. The nine heavens' supreme purity palace disciples tightly clenched their perspiration-filled hands. Ling Qingzhu's eyes were similarly focused on the sky. A moment later, they suddenly concentrated. One could see a ray of light dash out from the origin of the energy shock wave and suddenly shoot upwards. The huge devil fist was completely smashed apart by the assault of the ray of light. Swoosh! The devil fist disintegrated wherever the ray of light passed. The surrounding space distorted as the ray of light shot straight towards the huge devil figure in the sky. Roar! The devil figure clearly sensed the power of the ray of light headed its way. A furious roar immediately sounded. One could only watch as monstrous demonic chi gathered in front of it, turning into a massive demonic chi light array. The light array was overflowing with wicked demonic chi. However, the ray of light remained as quick as ever even in the face of such a formidable defense. Lin Dong appeared in front of the light array in an instant. His black lightning liquid-like hand was just like a sharp sword that could split the sky. It ferociously whipped forward and heavily smashed onto the demonic chi light array. Boom! A low and deep sound reverberated across the sky when the two forces collided. Countless black lightning bolts poured out from Lin Dong's hand and frantically blasted the demonic chi light array. Lin Dong, is this all you have? You actually plan to seek revenge on our Yuan Gate's 3 sect masters with such pathetic ability? You really do not know your limits. The devil figure roared towards the sky while the two were stuck in a deadlock. Lu Feng's loud and mocking laughter spread from within the roar. It is too early for you to be happy. Lin Dong's eyes were indifferent as he gazed upon the roaring devil figure. His liquid-like hand abruptly clenched and 2 ancient symbols slowly surfaced. After which, they entwined with each other and dazzling black lightning exploded from Lin Dong's arm. Bang! Lin Dong slowly withdrew his hand, before sending it smashing forward again an instant later. It heavily slammed into the devil chi light array. Crack! This time, the frightening defense of the demonic aura light array was ineffective. Lin Dong's liquid-like arm directly pierced the light array and ripped it apart. You! With his defense destroyed, Lu Feng involuntarily cried out. There was some shock in his voice. He had poured all of his power into this defense. However, it was actually still unable to block Lin Dong. Swoosh! Lin Dong did not give Lu Feng any opportunity to catch his breath. Lin Dong's body moved and he directly appeared in front of the devil figure. A punch flew forward as a liquid-like black lightning beam suddenly shot out from his fist. The black lightning beam was just like a shooting star, as it streaked across the sky and smashed into the huge devil figure. After which, a miserable screech suddenly sounded. The black lightning beam had penetrated through the demonic figure. Demonic chi seemed to cover the sky and land as it crazily spread from within the devil figure. After which, the devil figure swiftly paled and Lu Feng's body once again appeared in everyone's sights. However, there was now a deep bloody hole on his chest. His originally dark and sinister face had become deathly white, while those cold eyes of his were filled with fear. You? Lu Feng's complexion was waxy as he stared at Lin Dong, who had revealed himself in the sky nearby. Lu Feng had never imagined that even at full power, he would be so quickly defeated at Lin Dong's hands. How is this possible? Lu Feng mumbled. He was a strong individual, who had come into contact with reincarnation. Unless it was those reincarnation stage peak experts, it would be difficult for anyone else to beat him. Yet, the fight had barely started before he was utterly defeated. How could he accept this? Big brother Lin Dong has won. Su Ru and the others behind could not help but cry out joyously when they saw this scene. Their eyes were similarly filled with surprise. They had personally witnessed Lu Feng's strength earlier, and even the palace master of their Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace had been defeated by him. It was unexpected that even such a strong individual was no match for Lin Dong. It seemed that the danger faced by Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace would finally be resolved today. Ling Qingzhu's tightly clenched hands also stealthily relaxed at this moment. Her palm appeared a little moist. First Elder, are you all right? 3 figures shot out from the Yuan Gate camp and swiftly arrived beside Lu Feng. Shock colored their eyes as they gazed upon the latter's injuries and hurriedly asked. Lu Feng clenched his teeth and shook his head. He quickly waved his hand and roared, "All Yuan Gate disciples listen up. Wash Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace in blood. You 3, follow me and stop this little brat." Lu Feng glanced at the 3 remaining elders beside him. After his previous loss, it was obvious that he did not dare to take on Lin Dong alone. Understood. The countless Yuan Gate disciples roared in unison upon hearing this as evil black light surged in their eyes. After which, an intense murderous aura erupted once again, as they surged towards the Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace disciples like a flood. A frosty look flashed across Ling Qingzhu's eyes when she saw the Yuan Gate charging towards them again. She was about to intervene when Lin Dong in the distant sky above faintly smiled. He gently waved his hand and an indifferent voice slowly spread across the sky. The members of Yuan Gate have been corrupted by demonic qi. Kill them all. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Rushing wind sounds suddenly appeared from far away, as Lin Dong's voice sounded. Subsequently, a couple of figures appeared in the sky above the many Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace disciples. A group of degenerates. To have actually colluded with the Yimo. Die for your sins. Monstrous auras unfurled the moment the figures appeared. Boundless Yuan power transformed into numerous light curtains as they waved their sleeves. The light curtains protected the Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace disciples within them. What powerful auras! Are all of these people Dao sect experts? Su Ru was astonished as she looked at the figures that had suddenly appeared in the sky. She could feel that every one of these auras was not weaker than their palace masters. Some of them look very unfamiliar. They should not be experts from the eastern Xian region. Perhaps they are experts that Lin Dong has brought back. Ling Qingzhu frowned slightly. Soon after, she shook her head and replied. Experts brought back by Big Brother Lin Dong. Su Ru was startled. These peak-level experts would have high status no matter where they were put. To think that Big Brother Lin Dong was actually able to invite them here. Swoosh swoosh. The ones who had appeared were naturally Little Martin, First Elder Zhu Li and the others who had followed Lin Dong. Their eyes drifted towards the Yuan Gate disciples the moment they emerged. Majestic Yuan power surged as they threw a palm forward. Powerful attacks crushed the Yuan Gate disciples, causing them to no longer be capable of advancing any further. The expressions of Lu Feng and Gang finally changed drastically when they saw this. Astonishment flashed in their eyes as they gazed upon the experts with frightening auras behind Lin Dong. First Elder, Lin Dong has actually brought back so many strong individuals, a Yuan Gate elder said in a shocked voice. He could detect an intense dangerous feeling from those people. What should we do now? Another elder hurriedly asked. They had already completely lost any advantage they had with the appearance of Lin Dong's group. The expression in Lu Feng's eyes changed rapidly. He clenched his teeth and said, "Withdraw. Lin Dong, just you wait. Once my Yuan Gate 3 sect masters come out of their retreat, your Dao sect will definitely be destroyed." Lu Feng roared furiously. After which, he directly turned around and retreated. That manner suggested that he could not be bothered with those disciples of the Yuan Gate. "Why are you leaving now that you are here?" Lin Dong looked at Lu Feng's group, which was prepared to return, and said with a faint smile. Lu Feng completely ignored this. He turned around and left, acting in an unusually decisive manner. However, they felt the sky suddenly became icy cold when they had only traveled 10,000 feet. Snow drifted downwards and covered the place. "This is bad." Lu Feng had a change in expression upon seeing this. He hurriedly lifted his head. Subsequently, they saw a delicate figure lazily seated on a pine tree, which stood on a mountain a short distance away. Her icy blue long hair was scattered. Her icy blue pretty eyes contained an even greater chill than the snow. "It's the Dao sect's Ying Huan Huan." Lu Feng's group consisted of the top experts from Yuan Gate. After a year of crossing swords with Dao sect, they had naturally heard of this extremely strong individual, who had practically appeared out of nowhere. Hence, he immediately recognized her. Atop the pine tree, Ying Huan Huan's pretty eyes glanced at them. She slowly stood up and stepped on the air as ice lotuses formed below her one by one. After which, she pressed her long finger on the empty air. Ice seal wall. Snowflakes crazily gathered at this moment. After which, they turned into 4 ice walls that stretched towards the sky around Lu Feng's 4-men group, sealing off all paths of retreat. Bang bang. Lu Feng's group hurriedly unleashed numerous attacks upon seeing this. However, they were unable to break the ice wall. Lin Dong's body flashed and appeared above the ice wall. He looked at the group of 4 that had been trapped inside. His expression remained indifferent, as he clenched his hand and a miniature stone tablet appeared within it. It was the great desolate tablet that Lin Dong had refined. "Relax, those 3 old dogs will accompany all of you soon," Lin Dong said in a faint voice. Soon after, he waved his hand. The great desolate tablet whizzed out and expanded, growing to a size of 10,000 feet. An endless ancient ripple spread from under the tablet. Under this pressure, the demonic qi within the bodies of Lu Feng's group was dispersed at an alarming speed. Bang! A crunching and creaking noises erupted from the entire area, as if it was unable to handle the heavy weight, as the tremendous stone tablet descended. "Sect Master, save us!" The stone tablet pressed downward as fear finally surged within Lu Feng's eyes. After which, he cried out in a hoarse voice. Bang! The entire sky seemed to have suddenly rapidly distorted the moment his howl rang out, as a giant silver hand directly reached out from within. After which, a fist broke the many layers of ice walls and grabbed at Lu Feng's group. "Old dog of Yuan Gate, are you finally going to intervene?" A steely look rose within Lin Dong's eyes the instant the giant hand appeared, while an icy voice resounded across the sky. The large silver hand penetrated through space and blasted apart the many layers of ice walls. After which, it grabbed at Lu Feng's group. From the looks of it, it was clearly planning to rescue Lu Feng's group before Lin Dong could kill them. Lin Dong stood in the air. His black eyes were frosty as he looked at the large silver hand. There was not much surprise in his eyes. A thought passed through his mind and the great desolate tablet once again expanded. After which, it turned and ruthlessly smashed towards the large silver hand. Humph! As if sensing Lin Dong's actions, a cold snort seemed to emerge from the shattered space. The large silver hand turned and met Lin Dong's attack, powerfully colliding against the great desolate tablet, which was smashing towards it. Boom! The powerful clash immediately shattered the surrounding space, as an incomparably wild and violent energy wave spread. Lu Feng's group, which was closest, involuntarily spat out a mouthful of blood. Buzz buzz. The great desolate tablet shook violently, as ancient ripples continued to be emitted in a circular fashion. However, the large silver hand was also extremely frightening, and actually resisted the suppression of the great desolate tablet. Although the large silver hand trembled continuously, it did not allow the great desolate tablet to fully suppress it. Ice Phoenix Devil Suppressing Lock. An ice-cold cry sounded from nearby, while Lin Dong was locked in battle with the large silver hand. Soon after, snow that permeated the sky formed 10 huge ice phoenixes. After which, the ice phoenixes shot forward and surrounded the large silver hand. They circled around it as their phoenix feathers turned into enormous ice-cold chains that tightly entwined around the large silver hand. An astonishingly cold aura rose from the chains, immediately causing dense white fog to rise from the huge silver hand. Layers of ice quickly spread on the large silver hand. The cold aura also caused the strength of the large silver hand to fall. Subsequently, the great desolate tablet descended and suppressed it. Swoosh. However, the silver light on the large silver hand blossomed the moment Lin Dong and Ying Huanhuan had forced it into a disadvantageous position. Space distorted and the large silver hand disappeared. Bang! The great desolate tablet came crashing down, but it missed its target, causing the land below to collapse due to its power. Lin Dong frowned upon seeing this. The disappearance of the large silver hand was far too bizarre. Moreover, the weirdest thing was that he was unable to sense just how the large silver hand had disappeared. First Elder Zhu Li and the rest in the distance were closely observing the fight at Lin Dong's side. They also frowned when the large silver hand disappeared as grave expressions flashed across their eyes. Careful! Ying Huanhuan's cry suddenly transmitted into Lin Dong's ear while he was frowning. Soon after, he felt a cold aura suddenly sweep towards him, rapidly forming a huge ice wall behind him. Boom! Space suddenly split apart the moment the ice wall took shape, and a large silver hand viciously swung towards Lin Dong. It shattered the ice wall with a punch. However, Lin Dong took the split-second opportunity to swiftly recover and pull back, dodging the strange attack of the large silver hand in the process. The large silver hand did not linger after its attack missed. Silver light flashed and it strangely disappeared again. Lin Dong's pupils contracted a little when he saw this bizarre scene. In that split-second moment earlier, he had detected a mysterious power. What is going on? Ying Huanhuan moved and appeared beside Lin Dong. Her eyes also contained some confusion. This large silver hand was far too unpredictable. Lin Dong lightly shook his head. His eyes flashed and he laughed coldly. Let me see just how long you can keep up this phantom-like act. Huanhuan, I will attack and finish off those few fellows. Watch my surroundings. Since the large silver hand was far too bizarre, Lin Dong would force it to reveal itself. Lin Dong's body directly turned into a ray of light, which shot towards Lu Feng's group, as a frighteningly murderous aura dashed into the sky. Lu Feng's group was horrified when they saw Lin Dong charging towards them with a face full of ferocity. They hurriedly retreated. However, Lin Dong did not give them any opportunity to resist. His hand opened and a warm white light seemed to cover the sky and land as it surged out, wrapping around the four of them in the process. Lu Feng's group was appalled to find that the demonic aura within their bodies was gradually vanishing under this warm white light. This was especially the case for Lu Feng. He was already injured to begin with, and this only made things worse. His expression grew increasingly pale. Humph! Lin Dong did not show any mercy to them. With a wave of his sleeve, the great desolate tablet once again swept forward. A vast and powerful ancient light gathered under the tablet. The great desolate tablet was accompanied by a shadow as it fell towards Lu Feng's group. However, the space nearby once again distorted just as the great desolate tablet was about to land. Again. A cold glint surged in Lin Dong's eyes when the moment the distortion appeared. His body shot forward like a bolt of lightning and appeared on the great desolate tablet. Bright purplish gold light erupted from his body. Immediately, countless purplish gold dragon tattoos coiled around Lin Dong's body as a pure dragon aura engulfed the land. Roar! A dragon roar resounded as a total of 3,000 purplish gold dragon tattoos rose towards the sky. They gathered together and transformed into a 10,000 feet large purplish gold dragon claw. With a swing of the dragon claw, space itself was brutally torn apart. After which, purplish gold light flashed in Lin Dong's eyes as the dragon claw ruthlessly collided against the large silver hand that had mysteriously appeared. Bang! The clash in the sky was incomparably violent. Thunderous rumbling spread, and it was possible to clearly hear the noise even from 100 miles away. The large silver hand was finally forced back this time. Its silver glow had also dimmed slightly. It was obvious that the large silver hand had suffered at the hands of Lin Dong's prepared attack. Which one of the 3 old dogs of Yuan Gate are you? Lin Dong grinned. His gaze was fixed on the large silver hand as he slowly said, "Do you really think that I am still the same person from 3 years ago? Do you really believe you can save anyone from me without even showing your true body? You are indeed a troublesome brat. I already knew that you will be trouble back then. However, I never expected how true this would become." A faint voice was emitted as light flickered on the large silver hand. "Since you do not dare to show your true body, allow me to destroy this toy of yours." Lin Dong's eyes became cold. He charged forward as the purplish gold dragon claw ruthlessly smashed towards the large silver hand. Ying Huanhuan moved the moment Lin Dong attacked the large silver hand. She directly appeared in front of Lu Feng's group. With a clench of her hand, ice spread across the sky and turned into many ice chains. The ends of these ice chains were akin to vipers, as they snaked through the air at lightning speed. In the end, they pierced the bodies of Lu Feng's group. Crack crack. Layers of ice rapidly grew on the bodies of the 4 of them as the ice chains penetrated their bodies. Before they could even resist, a layer of ice had already encapsulated them. An ancient symbol faintly flickered on the surface of the ice, sealing the 4 individuals inside. Ying Huanhuan and Lin Dong had the same thoughts in mind. They currently did not know which of the 3 hidden Yuan Gate behemoths Lin Dong had unleashed his full might against. Hence, she acted decisively and captured Lu Feng's group, preventing the elusive large silver hand from rescuing them. Swoosh swoosh. First Elder Zhu Li, Little Martin, and the others had also hurried over from some distance away. They watched Lin Dong exchange blows with the large silver hand in the sky as grave expressions flashed across their eyes. From how the person in hiding could fight Lin Dong in such a manner despite transmitting his power from across a great distance, the strength of this person was definitely rather terrifying. He might well have reached the reincarnation stage. Bang bang. The purplish gold dragon claw and the large silver hand clashed ferociously in the sky. Each clash would stir waves of gales as deafening explosions spread far into the distance. Old dog of Yuan Gate, I have said before that you must show your true body if you wish to deal with me. Using such means is far too laughable. Lin Dong managed to decipher some of the large silver hand's patterns after several exchanges. A cold glint flashed in his eyes as he sneered. However, no one replied Lin Dong's sneer, but the attacks of the large silver hand grew increasingly sharp. Stubborn old dog. Cold light surged within Lin Dong's eyes. Finally, he ceased holding back. His body moved and directly appeared above the large silver hand. Cackle cackle. Black light and a lightning glow suddenly spread from Lin Dong's palm like a spiderweb. In a short few moments, it enveloped the large silver hand. Devouring power and violent lightning energy surged, completely destroying the mysterious power hidden within the large silver hand. Break! Lin Dong suddenly stomped his foot, and cracks immediately began to appear on the large silver hand. Soon after, light spluttered and the large silver hand turned into countless specks of light that rapidly disappeared into nothingness. The space in front of Lin Dong distorted when the large silver hand was destroyed. He could vaguely see the blurry figure seated within. Although Lin Dong was unable to clearly see the figure, he was aware that this person was definitely one of the three behemoths of Yuan Gate. Lin Dong, you now have some ability. The homeless stray from back then is indeed completely different now. You plan to seek revenge on the three of us, right? Ha ha. Come to Yuan Gate. The three of us await your arrival. We will see whether or not you are really qualified to destroy our Yuan Gate. The space distorted and quickly vanished, while the figure also mysteriously disappeared. There was not even slightest energy fluctuations. Lin Dong's eyes were ice cold as he watched the figure within the distorted space disappear. Soon after, he slowly clenched both of his hands as an intense desire to kill flashed across his pitch-black eyes. You felt it. Ying Huan appeared at Lin Dong's side. She glanced at the distorted space where the figure had vanished and suddenly asked. Lin Dong nodded as he said in a faint voice, I felt it. That fellow used the power of the ancestral symbol earlier. Yuan Gate is likely in control of an ancestral symbol. Ying Huan knitted her brows as she softly replied, if my guess is correct, the ancestral symbol in the hands of Yuan Gate should be the most unfathomable amongst the 8 great ancestral symbols. The spatial ancestral symbol. Spatial ancestral symbol her. Lin Dong muttered to himself. It seemed that Yuan Gate had really hidden their strength well for the past few years. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that even the least known spatial ancestral symbol had landed in their hands. Lin Dong stood in the sky with an expression of deep thought on his face. The spatial ancestral symbol, which suddenly appeared out of nowhere, had clearly taken him by surprise. It is now without a doubt that Yuan Gate is in cahoots with the Yimo. In that case, how did the 3 great heads of Yuan Gate control the spatial ancestral symbol? Lin Dong muttered. Typically speaking, the ancestral symbols have extremely powerful restraining properties against the Yimo. Therefore, as long as there was demonic aura within one's body, the ancestral symbols would resist with their full strength. As such, much less needed to be said about controlling them. However, Lin Dong clearly felt that previous fluctuation, and knew that it was indeed the strength of the ancestral symbol. Moreover, the fact that the large silver hand could easily penetrate through space, was also something that could only be accomplished by the spatial ancestral symbol. In fact, even a peak-level reincarnation stage expert would have difficulties penetrating through space without leaving any traces behind. Ying Huan was also frowning while she gently shook her head. Evidently, she was also uncertain about how Yuan Gate managed to control the spatial ancestral symbol. Forget it. I don't care what techniques they used. However, a divine item like an ancestral symbol must not land in their hands. With a faint smile, a cold glint flashed across Lin Dong's dark black eyes as he said, we will snatch the spatial ancestral symbol after finishing off those 3 old dogs. Ying Huan nodded. Her icy blue eyes suddenly glanced into the distance before she lifted her icy blue hair over her earlobe. Meanwhile, there was an unknown expression on her chilly face. At the spot where she glanced at, there was also another great beauty, who seemed to have been forged from the life essence of the world. Lin Dong also detected her line of sight. Soon after, his face, which remained impassive even when up against the great heads of Yuan Gate, suddenly became uneasy. After all, there was indeed an awkward relationship between the three of them. Lin Dong and Ling Qingzhu had spent an intimate night together before. Moreover, a major factor why he chose to leave the small Great Yang Empire many years ago was because he wanted to chase after this person, who had once bloomed like an epiphyllum flower in his life. Ling Qingzhu was prideful, while Lin Dong was stubborn. Back then, because he looked up to her, he wanted to surpass her. Therefore, Lin Dong had no choice but to admit that there was a strong desire to conquer Ling Qingzhu deep within his heart. Meanwhile, the seed of this desire was planted back at that lonely mountain top. Underlying his desire to conquer her was overbearing pride that belonged to a man. Therefore, he did not know whether he could remain calm if Ling Qingzhu was lying in the arms of another man. The ridiculous deed that they did back then left an extremely deep impression on both of their hearts, and it could never be erased. This was something that neither of them could deny. Ying Huanhuan was someone Lin Dong subsequently met. With regards to her various contributions and how long she spent waiting for him, even if Lin Dong was a cold-hearted individual, he could never forget about it. In fact, even up till today, whenever he thought about the scenes back at the unique Devil City, his heart still aches gently. That lovely and lively girl had transformed into this icy beauty partly because of him. Meanwhile, the heartache and pain that she suffered as her personality changed was perhaps something that even Ying Huanhuan was not clearly aware of. Furthermore, there was no doubt that both ladies were outstanding. One was the most outstanding disciple Nine Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace ever had, while the other was actually the reincarnator of the Ice Master. As such, the both of them were extremely prideful. Of course, when these two dazzling ladies clashed, it was clearly impossible for either one of them to back down. This was also why Lin Dong felt a headache. Charge! While Lin Dong was fretting over this matter, earth-shaking battle cries sounded from below. Immediately, the disciples from Nine Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace charged towards the disciples from Yuan Gate. After losing most of their elders, those Yuan Gate disciples were clearly dispirited. Hence, miserable cries rung continuously across the sky as they were being hunted by the disciples from Nine Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace. There was no concept of cruelty at this moment. Yuan Gate was the one who started the war, and they naturally had to pay a price for doing so. Moreover, these Yuan Gate disciples were all corrupted by the demonic aura. Therefore, at this rate, it was likely that they would slowly lose their minds and turn into human beasts, who only know how to kill. The battle cries continued for a long time. After which, corpses belonging to the disciples from Yuan Gate covered the entire mountain range. Those who managed to survive through sheer luck fled miserably in all directions, and they were no longer as fearsome as before. Big brother Lin Dong. At afar, Su Ruo waved her small hand in Lin Dong's direction. Meanwhile, her small face appeared flush from excitement. Lin Dong opened his stride and walked towards her upon seeing this. Behind him, Ying Huanhuan hesitated for a moment before she bit her red lips and followed him at a leisurely pace. Big brother Lin Dong, you aren't injured, are you? Su Ruo looked at Lin Dong, who had landed in front of him. Then, she carefully surveyed him before uttering those words with a smile. Currently, there were countless disciples from Nine Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace gathered around them. These people were all staring curiously at Lin Dong with gratitude in their eyes. After all, if Lin Dong and his men did not show up and assist them today, their Nine Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace would have become an entry in the history book of the Eastern Xian region. Lin Dong smiled as he shook his head. After which, he looked towards the cool fairy like Ling Qingzhu, who was dressed in white and standing behind Su Ruo. When Ling Qingzhu detected this, she tilted her head, only to look at Ying Huanhuan, who was standing behind Lin Dong. The air seemingly solidified the instant those two ladies looked at each other. Both of their demeanors were somewhat icy cold. However, due to Ying Huanhuan's constitution, the cold air around her was unusually chilly. On the other hand, Ling Qingzhu's chill originated from her demeanor. These two ladies were the center of attention no matter where they were. However, when they were placed together, their respective radiance and coldness seemed to be in contrast with each other. This area seemed to have fallen within the unique charms of those two ladies. This caused the surrounding disciples from Nine Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace to shut their mouths, while their eyes continuously oscillated between the two of them. After which, they glanced at Lin Dong, who was standing between them. Some sensitive individuals even lifted their brows, before they cast an envious and pitiful look towards Lin Dong. Little Martin, First Elder Zhu Li, and the rest also hurried over. When they saw this strange atmosphere, they smirked involuntarily. Meanwhile, they looked at Lin Dong with a playful expression in their eyes. Cough. The strange atmosphere continued. However, both Ying Huanhuan and Ling Qingzhu did not speak up. Finally, Lin Dong could only cough softly in order to break the silence. After which, he glanced at the damaged Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace before he pondered and asked, "Where is the palace master?" "Teacher has died." A dim expression flashed across Ling Qingzhu's autumn water-like eyes, before she continued, "The elders are all seriously injured. Our Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace has suffered serious losses." Lin Dong sighed softly. This was something that was unavoidable. After all, the current Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace was indeed unable to put up much of a resistance against Yuan Gate. In fact, had they arrived a little later, it was likely that Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace would have suffered even more severe losses. This time around, on behalf of every disciple from Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace, I would like to thank you, your friends from Dao Sect, and elders from another region. Ling Qingzhu softly said. Ha ha, no problem at all. First Elder Zhu Li laughed. Then, he quickly shook his head and said, "Forget it. You young fellows should have a chat. An old man like me is unable to handle this tense atmosphere." He turned around and left after uttering those words. Little Martin and the rest also grinned before they left. Following which, the surrounding disciples from Nine Heavens Supreme Purity Palace also left in small groups. However, they continued to cast some curious glances over. Ying Huanhuan's icy blue pretty eyes glanced at Lin Dong when she saw the scattering crowd. After which, she smiled at Ling Qingzhu and extended her delicate hand, "Ying Huanhuan from Dao Sect. I believe that we have met before." Ling Qingzhu. As of now, there is likely no one in the entire Eastern Xian region who doesn't know who Miss Huanhuan is. There was also a rarely seen smile on Ling Qingzhu's pretty face. Then, she extended her hand before she gently shook Ying Huanhuan's hand. It seems like these two prideful individuals were unwilling to submit in front of the other. The both of you should have a chat. Ying Huanhuan did not say anything more. Instead, she turned and stared at Lin Dong. After which, with a much gentler tone, she said, "Let's return to Dao Sect after you are done. I will be waiting for you." She did not linger on after uttering those words. Instead, she turned around and left. "Miss Huanhuan treats you very well." Ling Qingzhu was quiet for a moment after she saw that Ying Huanhuan had left. Finally, she remarked, "You went to the Great Yang Empire. My mother said that she has met you before." Lin Dong smiled. He stared at Ling Qingzhu before he asked. Ling Qingzhu nodded in a seemingly calm manner. However, her fair face was slightly flushed as she said, "It just so happens that I went to the Great Yang Empire to do something." After which, I decided to visit your parents as well. She continued to speak in a calm manner. However, there were tiny ripples in her eyes, which typically held no emotions. That was because she knew that her excuse was simply too far-fetched. Lin Dong nodded and said, "My mother asked me when I was going to bring the both of you back." Ling Qingzhu rolled her eyes. Her demeanor caused Wan's bones to soften. After which, she raised her brow, before she questioned him, "Both of us?" Instantly, Lin Dong felt his head swell. Ling Qingzhu curled her red lips. After which, she turned her head away and said, "After 3 years, you have changed quite a bit." Lin Dong smiled. Then, he lifted his head and looked at the setting sun. "That is because I want to come back." Ling Qingzhu remained silent. His short sentence allowed her to understand just how much hard work this young man in front of her had put in over the last 3 years. Others had only witnessed his glory. However, no one knew how many times he lingered between life and death in order to obtain this strength. "Actually, you were very powerful 3 years ago," Ling Qingzhu said softly. The scene from 3 years ago flashed within her mind. A blood-covered skinny man holding onto a long spear did not display the slightest fear even when up against the 3 great heads of Yuan Gate. His courage and charisma caused the expressions of countless people to change, even including hers. Lin Dong smiled. After which, he slowly stretched his lazy waist and exhaled, "Since I am back, it's time to wrap things up. What are your plans?" When Ling Qingzhu felt the bloodthirstiness within his words, she suddenly asked. Lin Dong lifted his head. He stared at that bloody sunset, before his faint voice slowly spread. 3 days later, we will fight to the death with Yuan Gate. Yuan Gate's attempt to destroy 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace failed, because of the arrival of Lin Dong's men. Nonetheless, despite their failed attempt, 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace was turned into ruins. Moreover, their palace master died from serious injuries, while all their elders were severely wounded. Hence, 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace was currently at its weakest moment. You should bring the disciples from your 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace, and follow me back to Dao Sect. You guys can't stay in this place anymore. After all, if Yuan Gate launches another sneak attack, the disciples of your 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace will definitely suffer terribly. When he realized that the current 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Place lacked the ability to protect itself, Lin Dong decided to ask for Ling Qingzhu's opinion. This? Ling Qingzhu hesitated for a moment after hearing this. If they were to simply head to Dao Sect now, it would feel as though they were imposing on them. Therefore, even though she knew that what Lin Dong proposed was the ideal solution, she inevitably felt a little resistant in her heart. You are now the palace master of 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace. Lin Dong glanced at her before he slowly said. Ling Qingzhu clenched her hand tightly, before she promptly nodded her head. Currently, she had to think on behalf of the disciples of 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace. Therefore, she had to be willing to swallow her pride. Go and instruct them. Lin Dong watched the ruins in front of him and sighed softly. Within a few days, a super sect, which once towered over the eastern Xian region, was nearly exterminated. As such, it was likely that Ling Qingzhu was also feeling extremely terrible in her heart. Lin Dong turned around and left after uttering those words. After which, he sat on a mountain top and observed the scene after the news spread. This caused the disciples of 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace to feel a little upset. Are you asking her to follow us back to Dao Sect? A cold aura approached Lin Dong from the side. After which, Ying Huanhuan sat elegantly beside him. Her hands supported her cheeks, while her pretty eyes looked at the 9 Heavens' Supreme Purity Palace disciples, who were currently cleaning up the mess. Lin Dong nodded and smilingly asked, do you mind? I am not so petty. Ying Huan rolled her eyes. After which, she stared at the ruins in front of her and muttered, "Actually, I can empathize with her. This is because I was also carrying the burden of the entire Dao sect before your return. After all, Yuan Gate has countless powerful individuals and the three great heads had yet to make a move. Hence, I was also worried that should I fail, the many disciples from Dao sect would also wound up just like them. During the past 3 years, I was missing you badly. However, I also had to do my best to protect Dao sect." Ying Huan folded her long legs. Her pretty snow-white face was lowered to her knees. Meanwhile, a heartbreaking frailness rose onto her pretty face, which was now covered by cold frost. "I was afraid that I would not be able to hang on until your return. Or perhaps, by the time you returned, Dao sect would have been destroyed and I would have been forced to become another person." Lin Dong stared in shock at the girl seated beside him. Evidently, she had a hard time over the last 3 years. However, did any of them here have an easy time? 3 years ago, she was a lively and cute girl, the little princess that all disciples from Dao sect cherished. She could have fun every day without any worries. However, soon after, the lives of every Dao sect disciple fell onto her delicate shoulders. Just by thinking about the heavy burden that she had to carry, one's heart began to ache. "It has been tough on you. However, now that I am back, let me carry that burden. I am extremely thick-skinned and I specialize in dealing with these things." With a warm expression in his eyes, Lin Dong extended his hand and gently rubbed Ying Huan's head. Her smooth hair was a little icy and it felt extremely comfortable. However, his actions caused a faint flush to appear on Ying Huan's pretty face. This lass, who now had a reputation in Dao sect that was not inferior to Lin Dong, gently acknowledged in an extremely obedient manner. After which, she used a voice that only he could hear before she said, "Don't worry. Whatever you do, I will support you." In the distance, Ling Qingzhu, who was instructing the disciples from 9 Heavens Supreme Purity Palace to clean up the mess and prepare to leave, suddenly saw the 2 people on the mountain top. Immediately, she gently bit her red lips, while some chaotic ripples were actually stirred in her typically unemotional heart. TSK, Senior Sister Qingzhu, it seems like you have met a formidable opponent this time around." A low voice suddenly sounded from her side. It turns out Su Ruo had unknowingly approached her. Meanwhile, the latter's eyes were also focused on the mountain top as she grinned and said. Ling Qingzhu glanced indifferently at her and said, Ying Huan stepped forward back at the unique Devil City and risked her life to force Ying Xuanzi to appear and rescue him. Her courage to love is something that I cannot hope to match up to. That's not true. Regardless, the both of you have contrasting personalities, and the way in which the both of you express your love is different. I know that you fancy Big Brother Lin Dong. Otherwise, given your character, why would you make an annual trip to the Great Yang Empire? Su Ruo said. Senior Sister Qingzhu, your heart might be wrapped by a layer of ice, but there are raging flames within. However, I'm afraid that Big Brother Lin Dong is the only man who will be able to enjoy your heated emotions. Even with Ling Qingzhu's lotus-like calmness, her pretty face reddened when she heard Su Ruo's teasing. Then, she said in a somewhat indignant manner, You lass, who taught you these irritating things? Go and do what is needed and withdraw. All right. Su Ruo replied with a smile. Then, she waved her small hand and said, however, don't miss out on this opportunity, Senior Sister Qingzhu. After all, there is no medicine for regret in this world. Ling Qingzhu looked at Su Ruo, who fled while laughing. Then, she pursed her red lips. Her heart, which had just gradually calmed down, once again began to race. Meanwhile, the ripples stirred grew increasingly intense. They finally cleaned up the place after half a day. After which, Lin Dong and the rest did not linger on. When they glanced at this place, which was still a majestic sight a couple of days ago, all of them sighed softly. Finally, with a wave of his hand, Lin Dong led the group before they turned around and left. This episode ends here.